All eyes on Washington this morning, where lawmakers are hammering away at a deal to raise the debt ceiling. Still lots of questions and backlash.
And 25 News Washington correspondent Joe St. George joins us live now. And Joe, the debt limit deal passed the House last night and now heads to the Senate. But when could we see a vote, and what obstacles does it face?
Good morning. I don't think anyone here in Washington is hanging the crisis averted banner just yet, but the temperature regarding this entire debate has been brought down considerably in recent hours. In fact, it's barely simmering at this point, and that's because if you were to ask anyone in Texas, anyone here in Washington, the biggest challenge with raising the debt ceiling this year was always passing a bill through the House of Representatives. And that's what's happened last night, quite frankly, by an overwhelming margin. Over 300 members of the House voting for the deal brokered between President Biden and Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, which claws back some unspent COVID funds. It reinstitutes federal student loan payments come late August. Those are some of the biggest parts of this legislation. Eliminates some funding for the IRS as well going forward. As you mentioned, the legislation now goes to the United States Senate, where it has bipartisan support. Both leaders would like to see it passed as quickly as possible. So where are some potential hiccups that could prevent this bill from going to President Biden's desk in a timely manner? Well, for one, any one senator can really slow down the process. And there is a demand by many senators for an amendment process to happen. Remember, there are a number of lawmakers in the Senate who are not happy with the final version of this bill. For instance, Senator Tim Kaine, the Democratic senator from Virginia, is furious that there's a language in this bill related to a pipeline in West Virginia. He would like that removed. If any amendment actually passes, the legislation would then have to go back to the House for another vote, and you can see why leadership is working hard to prevent that. So there may be amendment votes, but certainly leadership is working to make sure that no amendment actually passes so that President Biden can get this legislation in a timely manner, perhaps this weekend. And as far as timeline, we're going to get more guidance from Majority Leader Chuck Schumer this morning on when a potential vote could actually happen. All indications is that the procedural process will begin this morning, setting up a final vote on Saturday. But the way the Senate works is that if senators agree together to move the process along, we could get a final vote as early as today, most likely tomorrow.
All right, Joe, and Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy getting a lot of criticism from within his own party now because of this deal. So, Joe, is his job at risk?
Well, if you listen to conservative talk radio around the country, conservative talk radio on some of those AM stations in Texas, there are some Republicans who are furious that the Speaker negotiated this deal with President Biden. The Speaker used a lot of political capital to get the bill through the House of Representatives. In fact, just to bring it up to the floor for an actual vote, he needed some help from some Democrats, which is really rare. Usually the Speaker can rely on votes from his own party to do that. But a number of Republicans have spoken out again against this bill. And remember, Speaker McCarthy only became Speaker by razor-thin margins last January. And it's certainly possible that there could be a challenge to his speakership as a direct result of this bill getting through the House. There is one perhaps benefit that Speaker McCarthy has this morning, is there's no clear alternative to him. So while yes, maybe very few, a small handful of lawmakers would like to see somebody else as Speaker, perhaps, there is no real clear heir apparent, if you will, for that to happen. But we'll be monitoring the political fallout from all of this, not just for Speaker McCarthy, but also for President Biden. Bottom line is, you're waking up having your pancakes with us. The country is on track to prevent a catastrophic default, which many economists have warned could cause a recession.
Now you're making us hungry, Joe. Thanks for that. Always good to see you, Joe.
All right, well, on Capitol Hill.